How is it going, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Buddy's House of Horror podcast. Today is the very first edition of the new mini-series that me and Midnight Miles are going to be doing about underrated films. We teased it on an earlier episode of the podcast, and now it's finally here. And we're starting with the two films that Miles suggested, The Innkeepers and Undead. And it was a ton of fun talking to Miles about these films. It was a ton of fun watching these films. So instead of listening to my intro about it, we're just going to get right to the show. Of course, if you guys haven't already, please make sure that you subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications so you know when I post new videos. And if you were to give this video a thumbs up and share it with a friend, it would be greatly appreciated. Of course, if you're listening to this over on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts, make sure that you leave the show a rating and review, and also make sure to subscribe. Without further ado, let's get to our first episode of Underrated Films. Alright, so welcome to another episode of the show, guys. Today is the first episode in the new series we're doing on the show, where we're going to be talking about some underrated films, and this was brought to my attention by my co-host, who actually pitched the idea for me. So, what's going on, Kat?
I'm here, Midnight Miles. Damn, I'm upgraded to co-host? Shit, I didn't realize that.
Well, this part, the underrated films, you're the co-host for all these episodes.
Man,
this is going to be our ongoing series here.
I curated this shit or something. Damn.
Yeah.
When you get a million subscribers, just remember us, all right? Little people, remember all these old episodes, you know?
Yeah, I'm sure people will dive into the archives and take some of these out. So, what's been going on, Kat? I mean, you good to go? You ready to record? You need a blanket or anything? I mean, I know you when you come over here, you like to get all snuggled up and shit. I mean, you good?
I'm good. Yeah. I mean, not everyone lives in a freezer like you do.
Yeah.
So, but no, I'm okay. You know, the weather, it's starting to feel. You know, so then you wet your finger, you feel that fall wind. You're like, oh yeah, fall's coming. It's pretty much this weekend. I got a couple of those vibes. Like,
yeah,
it's on its way. You know.
Yeah. So. Good stuff. Yeah, Halloween's definitely my favorite time of the year. That's why we do this show. So yeah, let's just sort of get right to it, because I mean, we'll have plenty of more podcasts to sort of shoot the shit. So as we teased in a previous episode of the show, we're going to be talking about some of our underrated films. Maybe not necessarily like the greatest films we've ever seen, but definitely some films that like
they struck a chord. A lot of these initially for me. This is why we're actually going back rewatching, because maybe they won't strike the same chord again, because it's been, most of the ones I've picked, it's probably been 5 to 10 years since I've seen them, at least.
Yeah, I mean, for me, some of them I've only seen once. Some of them, like the pick I revealed last week, I've seen a multitude of times. But like some of them I've only seen like once or twice, and they're just stuff that like you don't really hear people talk about ever. And maybe they need a little more recognition, or maybe they don't. I mean, we'll see if they deserve to be lost in obscurity, or if they... Either way, we're going to watch them, so...
See if they hold the test of time, right?
Yeah. So the way we're going to do this first episode, we are going to watch the two films that Miles picked, which are going to be The Innkeepers and Undead. And then for the next episode of the show, we're going to do the ones that I picked. And then maybe in future episodes, we'll do like one of each, just so it's like a balance. But it just so happened to be that this time, we're going to be watching Miles' films first. So that's how it goes.
Luck of the draw.
Yeah, luck of the draw, man.
Well, my first pick is The Innkeepers, and we actually did just watch this the other day.
Yeah.
So it's not as fresh in our minds.
It's been a couple weeks. It's been
you're supposed to, it's magic.
Oh yeah, we actually just
watched it.
We just
finished this. God, man, you're spoiling all the behind-the-scenes magic.
You ruined the behind-the-scenes magic because you were like, it feels like it's starting to get fall when this is literally going to release so much later, but it's fine.
I was just thinking about that. Well, it's all spoiled. This is, who knows? The world could end by October, and no one will ever hear this shit.
Yeah, it could. I mean, the way this year's going, I mean, who knows?
Fingers crossed. Anyways... The Innkeepers is a film by, I think we talked about this at the end of the last episode that I did.
I think it's Ty West.
Ty West. That's what I always assumed it was. I heard some other frickin' nerds when I was in college saying T West, and I was like, I'm pretty sure it's Ty West.
Yeah.
But, anyways, if we're wrong, comment. But I'm pretty sure it's Ty West. Pretty positive.
Yeah, I mean, I watched a couple.
Oh, you did some homework.
I didn't do much homework. I watched a couple interviews just to make sure we were getting the pronunciation of the name correct, and everyone has been saying Ty West. So
okay, all right, well,
yeah.
We're good. This is his second film technically, well, he did a short. It's kind of like a short or like a real, I guess, I don't want to say underground film, but kind of. He did The Roost, I think, and that came out in like maybe 2005.
Yeah, it was before the one he's known for.
It was before House of the Devil. Yeah. House of the Devil was his first. I think he considers that like his first real film, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that was 2008. So it usually takes him, he seems to tend to do 2 to 3 years between films. This came out in 2011, which seems like a really long time ago.
Yeah, 9 years ago. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. Whenever I think of 2011, just like my instinct is just like, oh, that was like 2-3 years ago. But it's like, cat, no.
No, it's almost a decade. We're hitting the end of 2020. Next year, that will be a decade.
Hey, let's talk about this just for a quick second. I sure as fuck dodged my 10-year high school reunion this year, cause so I got a little lucky on that one. But
mine was at Jules. No one listening will probably understand what that means, but maybe you know what Jules.
Oh, Jules Dance Hall,
yeah. It's a interesting country bar, and it was quite the interesting experience. It wasn't bad, though.
Yeah.
It was just like high school, though. I sat at actually the one side of the bar. Jared was there. Jared's on, Two Nerds podcast. Shout out to Jared, even though he'll probably never listen to this.
Never know.
I would bet if Jared listens to this, I'll give him $3.
Yeah.
See if he hears that. Anyways. But you're not missing much. It'll be exactly like high school. All that shit from films where they have like, oh, I'm going to my 10-year high school reunion. Let me see if this chick still thinks I'm hot or like, whatever the synopsis is. None of that shit will be what actually happens. It's going to be you drinking with either your friends in high school or your acquaintance. A lot of it is seeing acquaintances you haven't seen in a while. They'll come up to you, bullshit for 5 minutes or 10 minutes.
Right.
Or like, oh, let me sit down and have a beer with you. But the people you never talk to are not going to give a fuck if you were there, or vice versa.
Right.
But it wasn't bad.
And the people that like you're close friends with, I mean, you're friends with them anyway. So like as you said, like you and Jared, it's just like, well, what's the difference? I mean, like, yeah.
Sat down, I think Jared wore a nice shirt and he tried to, schmooze the crowd, go around stuff like that. But he spent most of the time sitting at the bar with me,
Yeah.
But anyways, that was a nice little tidbit. Just right, we've already lost every fucking viewer from that 3-minute.
No, they like the segues, man. They like the side tracks. It's fine.
It's a good thing you dodged though. They'll probably do yours like a 15-year now or something.
Well, they'll probably just do it the year after. I mean, I
think your class? You have one of those kind of classes where
they're like they can't fucking wait to get this shit done, God. Yeah, but I don't know. We'll see. Anyway,
Innkeepers, Ty West's second film. I'm gonna say it's a second. Maybe if he listens to this, he can call us out. Should we go through the synopsis? I guess we'll start with the synopsis. It's about an inn, like a small town inn, like right dead center of a small town. It's their last weekend they're going to be open. They've been open for like I think 100 years.
Yeah, a while
or something like that, and it's historical. A lot, obviously, probably thousands of people have stayed there. Things like that. It was probably the key inn in the city that they're in for probably since the town had been around.
Right. Yeah. At one time it was a booming place, but now it's like I don't want to say run down, but it's definitely way past its heyday.
Yeah. Sure.
Like still like you get a couple people coming in now and then, but it's not like the epicenter of the city like it used to be.
No, probably everybody's staying the classic tale of America. Everyone's staying by the interstate,
Yeah, everyone's going to the Holiday Inn Express. Like no one's staying at this little place. This place would be good for Airbnb.
Perfect.
If Airbnb was around at the time, but this was 2011.
Our generations probably would have boomed right back up.
Oh yeah, and especially with the haunted aspect of it, I'm figured they could have used that big in their marketing on the Airbnb. But at the time, it's their I don't want to say the early stages of the internet, but it's definitely during the Tumblr blog post era of the internet where...
Think about this. People still used MySpace back in 2000.
Oh, yeah.
Briefly. I mean, it was basically at the end of it, but it still was in existence and still people used it.
But what I'm getting is the innkeepers at the hotel, the guy at the desk, they run a little like bloggy like website.
Does have that like very old. Yeah. I want to say I'll use the word old school, but old school blog sites are like horrible font, black background.
Yeah.
Fuck, the internet was so funny for the kids. Kids will never understand what the internet looked like in the 90s and then up. I remember fucking looking at pages in the 90s that were literally like almost like your TV back right now. It was purple. It's funny, I was gonna say it was purple with like some sort of black font, and you just read about something. Like it was literally
that's
like,
all
it
was,
basically looked like a fucking piece of paper, and you were just reading stuff on the internet. Like it was just so. The information was primitive, there, but it was just super primitive.
There's some websites that haven't updated since the 90s. Like, if you still go to, like, the original Space Jam's website, it hasn't been updated since 96, so it still looks exactly the same.
These tidbits. Now, I hope every viewer... I'll be on later tonight. Like, I wonder what Space Jam's website looks like.
Yeah. I've talked about it on one of the shows before. That's how I know that, but...
Anyway. Innkeepers... as I told you before, I wasn't going to tell you until we started recording this, but I did a little homework on this. So, apparently, he shot House of the Devil right up the road from where he shot
The
Innkeepers. And that was a real-ass hotel. The crew from House of the Devil all stayed at that hotel that he shot the Innkeepers in.
Oh, well, there you go.
So, and the reason...
He was doing a little networking, yeah.
And but it's funny because it was years before, and actually, he basically, Innkeepers wrote itself because the casting crew were hearing things constantly, and like doors shutting, so he goes, they were freaking out, and he goes... Look, guys, I think it's awesome, but I don't really care. I got to shoot a movie. Like that's what he said. He said the cast and crew were talking about stuff, but he said a lot of them started having very vivid dreams. And he said even towards I think the end of the production of House of the Devil, he started having very like vivid. Like,
was he staying dreams. At that hotel, or
yeah, I'm pretty sure he was. Don't quote me, internet, but I'm pretty sure he was staying there as well because it was the best option to like the nicest option for an entire crew to stay at for an affordable price.
Right.
So, yeah, he said that they were having all sorts of, weird stories, things like that. So he was just kind of thinking, like, what he was going to do next for a film. And he's like, basically, the thing just wrote itself. He goes, the front desk people that I modeled my two leads after, they're very similar. He goes, very similar people to who were working there when we stayed there, except for, he goes, I just took input of every other person I've worked with a part-time job. He's like, that character were just like the typical part-time job employees mixed with the looks of the people that were working there when he stayed. Yeah. So...
Is this hotel still open?
I don't know about that, but I'm pretty sure it's actually called the Yankee Peddler Inn, just like in the film.
Really?
They used the real name, everything.
Huh. You keep talking. I'm going to look that up and see if it's still open. Yeah, but...
Well, so... He was going to have the cast and crew stay at the hotel again while they shot there because it was big enough. And because I think if I remember reading right, I think he only had a 17-day shoot where he was allowed to shoot at this place.
Uh-huh.
So he wanted, he's like, well, let's keep everyone basically there. And he got Sarah Paxton, who Sarah Paxton at that time had done a couple... decently sized films. I mean, he had a name behind him at this point a little bit. House of the Devil did really well, especially because that was when video stores were still there and Netflix, Redbox. So he did pretty well, like I think with rentals and stuff for the House of the Devil. So he had a little bit of a name. So he got a decent budget for the Innkeepers. Yeah. So he was able to get some actors that are actually had been in stuff. Yeah. But. So he talking the whole crew into staying there. He's like, yeah, some weird stuff happened the last time we were there, yada, yada. Sarah Paxton's all excited, and then about a week before they're going to go to shoot, I guess her agent calls and goes, hey, can you find some place else for Sarah to stay? Because she's really scared to stay at the hotel. Right. And he goes, I'll tell you what, have her stay there the first night, and if she hates it, we'll get her a new place the next day, guaranteed. She stayed there the first night or started to spend time there, and she absolutely loved it. Stay for the whole thing. And stuff.
Okay.
Well, but they said the dreams. He's like, I'm not bullshitting. He goes, and people, the cast and crew try to tell me their stories again, and he's like, I feel bad, but he's like, I didn't really listen to a lot of them because he's like, I'm trying to make a movie, type deal. But he goes,
and was it a lot of the same cast and crew?
I don't.
Well, not cast, but crew.
I'm not sure. I don't know. I didn't read that far into it. I would assume he probably worked with a lot of the same people because...
Yeah, that's how it goes.
I know that he, like, a lot of filmmakers from the era, they all kind of, like, thank each other and say, I would always see him on credits, things like that. And, like, I know a lot of the extras and stuff, I think, would be, like, similar ones. Like, it was, like, a group, almost there was, like, a handful of filmmakers that all had, like, the same people, like, in films and stuff like that. They were kind of all up-and-coming horror directors because horror had a really big resurgence at the beginning of the 2010s. If you go back and look, like, independent-wise, I'm saying. Like, Magnet Video, Magnolia Video, which Magnolia Video is Magnet. I mean, I think it's, like, the offshoot of it. IFC... Dimension Extreme kind of went out at the end. I think that was like 2008, 2010, maybe 2011.
Right.
Dimension Extreme got a bunch of foreign film. Lionsgate was copying up a bunch of shit, you know, because they had made a bunch of money off Saw and they were buying films left and right. I really think for independent horror, and especially because I think the crop of like independent directors, even some that really aren't that well known nowadays, but like I know like still a couple I'm like, oh yeah, these guys released 2 or 3 good films or something, but then they kind of that was it, you know, that's what they did. Or maybe they went into something else in the film, I don't know, you know.
Yeah.
But there was like a really good group of just, I remember going to the video stores and stuff like that and be like, man, that was great, this was great, this looks great, this trailer was great. Like, and the production companies were like really putting together good catalogs of like solid horror, where like I guess maybe the last like few years I personally, probably, you know, anyone listening to this probably might not agree, but I've struggled to find, like, a plethora of good independent horror.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I don't know about you, but I haven't seen, like, not to the magnitude at the beginning of the decade.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's been hard. I mean, a lot of the, like, independent horror you see now is just, like, trying to get it out as fast as possible. And, like, you still get a lot of, like, interesting stuff, but the way I've seen it, it's mostly been, like, overseas stuff.
Yeah.
That comes here, and whether you get the dub or subtitled or stuff like that. I mean, some of them are still in English if they come from like Europe or whatever, but like, as far as like the American stuff, it's basically just like the Netflix trash, like, you know what I mean? Just like the random like stuff like that.
Or a lot of those directors too seem to have like their first features got up by like maybe like A24, like some of those production companies. They get probably some of those. You know, a lot of those, the budgets are a lot higher than some of the ones that I'm talking about kind of released. But, like, some of those probably would have been straight to, like, video or on demand.
Oh, right, yeah. If it wasn't for, like, A24 and, like, Blumhouse and stuff, like, really, like, getting all this stuff together,
and, like, taking a, you know, kind of a gamble on some of these directors and stuff like that. But those companies have made a shit ton of money. Like, hand over fist.
Yeah.
But, anyways, back...
Anyway, so the hotel was actually closed in 2015 for extensive renovations. And it said it was supposed to take like 7 to 10 months. It never reopened after that.
Oh, wow.
And then Best Western actually bought the hotel, and it says it has plans to reopen. This was in 2018 when like Best Western bought it out, but it's not open yet. So they still have plans to reopen it, apparently.
I wonder if they would have done that this year before everything. I imagine something like that probably is like low on the totem pole for Best Western or like a company, like when it gets done type deal.
Yeah, so
that's cool though. I mean, what town? What city was that in?
It's in Torrington, Connecticut.
Oh, that's right. They did. Yeah. I remember them saying they filmed.
Yeah, established in 1891.
Damn.
So over 100 years that it was in business. So
it did have the film has a very New England look.
Oh yeah,
the architecture and
for
things
sure.
like that. I mean, very very much New England. Things just don't look like that. You know, especially it's funny when I always used to go to Pennsylvania too. Even when I lived in Pennsylvania, a lot of places, the small towns of Pennsylvania don't look like anything in Ohio.
Oh yeah, not at all.
It's like completely. Like it's funny how much like
just the architecture and everything
original,
changes.
Like 13 colonies that became the states. You know, stuff like that. Like how much different things look once you get over into like the Midwest. And then, you know.
Right.
But man, I'm really segueing on some stuff today. But
that's okay. Right. It happens.
So, what did you think of the film? Let's just get. I mean, like just brutal honesty. I mean,
what did I think of the film? So
do some pros and cons because I know just go with it. Let's see what you got to say.
So I guess first impressions. I mean, as we already peeled back the curtain, so it's been a few weeks since we've seen it. First impressions, I mean, I thought it was good. I mean, it was all right. I mean, it wasn't anything super groundbreaking, but I don't think that's anything we set out to do with this show. I don't know. Like, I thought it definitely had a good atmosphere and mood to it. I liked the general vibe of it. How, again, it's one of those films that mix the horror and comedy together, but one doesn't necessarily shadow the other. One thing I will say, and I'm sure we'll get to this, it wraps up really quick. There's a lot. There's a ton of buildup, and I don't necessarily know if the payoff is worth it. If we would have gotten maybe once shit keeps going, like once it really hits its stride, if we got another like 10 minutes out of it, maybe.
I agree.
But once it gets going, I mean, it's pretty much over after that. But yeah, it sets mood and tone pretty good. My illustrious wife was with us when we watched the film. I know parts of it really got to her a little bit. There's a part within, and we're gonna be getting into spoilers, obviously. So if you haven't seen these, go ahead and do that. But you're in too deep now. So the old man sort of freaked her out. That his whole storyline where he goes to the honeymoon suite where him and his wife went for one last night before the hotel closes. So that was just very unsettling to her. The way his stuff all pans out. And yeah, I mean, I thought it was fun. I don't know if it's something I would be revisiting all the time, but I mean, I would watch it again if I was with people who hadn't seen it or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I think on Letterboxd I gave it a 3, which is a solid score.
Miller Road, yeah.
Yeah,
solid. So. I thought, yeah, I mean, it's one of those. I think if I didn't like the characters so much, I wouldn't, I guess, hold it into a higher regard. Because I really thought that both the leads played off of each other really well. And I thought the dialogue was very believable.
Oh, it's very natural.
I thought those were those people. Like, I'm like, these are these people. This is their lives, you know?
It's like, yeah, they just cast the people that actually worked at the hotel. Like, because and as you alluded to, like, everyone who's worked a part-time job or whatever, like, you know these people or you are these people.
Yeah,
so
kind of just like, I guess I'm working today, or you're working, but you're also doing a few other things or things like that. Especially when you're working a part-time job unsupervised. When you're not working for a corporation part-time job. There's not cameras everywhere. There's not everything. You're kind of just like, I have these 5 tasks today. I'm here for 5 to 7 hours. I could probably do these 5 tasks in 3.
Yeah.
Let me stumble through. Let me get on my ghost blog real quick and like put some shit up there, you know, a door moving or something.
Yeah.
But I think, it's slow. It's a very slow burn film. I feel like people who have watched or will watch, maybe even his House of the Devil, should know that going in, that it was gonna be a slow burn film. Like, I would expect that from watching that film first. The payoff. I think the ending. It's way too quick. I mean, that would be my biggest gripe right off the bat. Anyways, it's the last X amount of minutes. It's like go, done.
Yeah.
And you're kind of just like, I don't know if he did that to try to give it more. I feel like he wanted to give it more of like, not realism. I hate that I use that word for this, but like, well, if it was a ghost story, like, and I'm gonna spoil it for you kids. But,
yeah, that's fine.
If someone dies, if a main character just gets fucking killed by a ghost or a spirit, apparition, whatever you want to say, really, what would the epilogue be?
Right.
Like, basically what happened in the film. It was basically it wasn't glitz and glamour. It wasn't. Yeah. It just kind of was like, oh, fuck, someone died, like, oh, let's wrap up the pieces here now, you know? I do wish probably at least 5 to 10 more minutes of the actual whole ending sequence.
Yeah. I don't mind, like, once it wraps up or whatever, like, once it's over and then they do the wrap-up and that's only a couple minutes, that's fine. But, like, I feel like there should have been more to the chase and, like, more to, like, all that stuff going on. Not necessarily how it wrapped up after one of the characters dies or whatever. But, yeah.
I wonder if he wrote more to it. and just
it's possible. Yeah.
I mean, like you said, I think he said he had a 17-day shoot.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not gonna.
Yeah. What are you gonna do? Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you just have to finish something, especially because I'm assuming he already had. I don't know where I think Dark Sky Films put it out. I think they put out his first couple films. I know they put out House of the Devil, so I know he already had a production company. He already had everything, so there were probably deadlines, or probably, he's like,
yeah,
I got to get this done. They want it for festivals. They want it for this.
Right, yeah.
But I also read something with him in the past where it was like, well, what if it was a ghost story, but it was like the one character said where he didn't believe me. He goes, what if there were no ghosts there and he was just making everything up?
Yeah.
So I think he was like, I think even in his head he's like, well, people probably would have hated it, but I think he hinted at the fact like, what if I made a ghost movie and there were no ghosts, there were no spirits, the whole thing was just made up?
Yeah. It would have been interesting.
It would have been interesting. Yeah. People would have probably fucking hated it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's the whole, like, fake out thing. I mean, like, it's like getting to the end and it was all a dream. Or just, like people hate that shit,
something like that. But it's clever sometimes when people do it. I mean, I've seen it work. April Fool's Day is a film that...
Oh, yeah.
You've seen April Fool's Day, no?
I don't think I've seen it, but I'm, aware of it. Yeah.
I might have to... It's another one we might have to watch.
We'd have to watch that one.
There you go. Look at the ideas.
I know.
Just coming to my head.
You're a cornucopia of ideas.
Word of the week, cornucopia.
Yeah. But I feel like talking about like the slow burn thing, I feel like nowadays, as opposed to 2011, that's more accepted because you're getting films like Midsummer and stuff like that, true. Where it's definitely like, it's more of a slow burn era right now. So like if people are revisiting this, it's not like... I know me in 2011, if I was watching this, I would have been bored out of my mind.
Yeah.
But right now, like after I've matured a little bit, and I mean I've seen way more films back then, but back then I probably would have been bored for a little bit during the beginning sections. So
it definitely could have added a little bit more. Ending could have been a little bit more. But I think for me, I think the believability of it, the location of it, everything looked... There's like an authenticity to the film. Where like, I feel like the hotel, it's like I've been in places like that. They're just look like they're so rich with history that it's just like, I'm like... For some reason when I was watching it, like initially, and the characters and how like the dialogue is kind of witty, they kind of... I know he wrote where he was like, I don't want these people to like be huge horror movie buffs or... huge believers or anything like that because you've seen so many films of the person like, I've seen 1,000 horror films, let's do this or this or that,
Yeah, you have a guy that's indifferent and then he like realized, like he even admits he's like, oh, I don't believe in any of this shit, and then he gets scared or whatever. But like it'd be different if it's like a horror movie like starring me. It's like you fucking know everything that's gonna happen,
Right.
Like it has to be like some sort of varied character.
Don't split up, don't do that, like things like that. I mean,
we've all seen Scream. So
if someone hasn't seen Scream is listening to this, shut the fucking podcast off and go watch Scream.
Yeah.
Well, anyways.
But what did you didn't say what you thought about it.
I guess I liked it pretty much as the first time I saw it. I definitely think, everything that I kind of just touched upon, like you kind of hit the nail on the head. I mean, it's just like, ending could have been longer. When I'm watching that, I was watching that with you guys sitting here, I'm like, oh yeah, definitely I wish that would have lasted another 10 minutes.
Right.
Like the whole sequence, because the way he had the scares, I like the look of the main woman spirit ghost. Yeah. Even though at the time there were some things that looked a little bit like it. She almost had a very like J-horror look in a sense, but also with like almost like American traditional ghost, you know what I mean? The very I don't know, pale, like almost like when people have like fake photos of spirits or you know, things. Does that make sense?
No, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
The old man looked creepy as hell.
Oh yeah.
And he kind of came out of nowhere type thing. I wish maybe his section would have been a little more fleshed out.
Yeah, because he just sort of shows up and then you sort of forget about him. Just like the characters in the film, they're like, because they need to evacuate the place or whatever, and they were like, oh fuck, the old guy's staying upstairs, we gotta go get him out of the room or whatever. So like I feel like that was partially to like make you forget he was there.
Yeah.
Just like the characters in the film do, because the only other person staying at the hotel was like there was a mother and a son that was there for like a brief period, and then there's like an aging film star that's like staying there for some reason. So
she's a medium.
Yeah.
And she was doing that whole like she had like spirit convention or something out there.
She was like a famous actress who like took a turn and then started doing like rituals and stuff.
Yeah, rituals, spirits, and or like speaking on that and stuff like that. Which she really helps the main character. Their relationship is nice too because the woman at first wants nothing to do with her.
Yeah.
And then Sarah Paxton's character all of a sudden's like, hey, I'm really freaked out. I'm starting to see things. And she's like, what? And then she kind of starts diving into the things and kind of like they start taking each other seriously and building a little bit of a relationship, which is nice. The relationships in the film are all really good. And I really do think the characters are probably what brought me back to it and why I say that's underrated. Because I think the acting's really good and I think the writing's good.
Yeah.
I think the way the cuts, the edits, I think it's a really good film.
It's shot nice too. I mean, we didn't talk about that. There's lots of like tracking shots and like I mean, you see it all the time now, but I mean, it's still like worth mentioning that it's not shot horribly.
So. No, it's definitely something that if you could have put someone in and been like, watch this, they would be like, oh, that I could have seen that in the theater, or like it's like a professional shoot, I guess you could say. It doesn't look like fucking Joe Bob out in the woods.
Oh no,
the fucking. It's a well-made film for sure. I would probably watch it again. I actually own it. That's one of the things I think we touched on it the last podcast that I did. But all the films that we're watching are ones we physically own.
We physically own, or we have a way to get them physically.
Right.
So like a couple that are like easy to find. Like we can't get anything like super obscure or whatever. That's like we could, but like
that would probably help with the people listening too. I mean, you could probably the Innkeepers, if anyone is interested, Dark Sky Films put it out. It's on Blu-ray. I think I bought my copy brand new at FYE. Some of the FYE still have it, and it was on DVD too. So probably find it for like I think like $5, maybe.
Yeah, $7. And I think it's available on like YouTube on demand. You can rent it for like $2 or something for a rental. If you're into the streaming thing, but I like to buy shit. So
I feel it. Anyways, though, if anyone, I would recommend it to pretty much anyone. Not anyone, probably not Jared, even though I think Jared watched it for some reason.
I think I'm gonna go on Letterboxd and see who.
I'm sure he hated it. I mean, let's just be honest. Hey, Jared, I know you probably did. He doesn't really like a lot of slow burn stuff. He's not a slow burn guy,
And he's not a fan of like modern horror films as much as you are or I am.
True.
Like he's more of an old school guy. Like I know like I feel like he's changed recently. Like he likes some of like the newer ones, but like this early 2000s era,
I think
like
he missed out on.
Yeah.
That was still my videos, like video store days. I was going to like any video store I could find, even if it was like 15 miles away, up until probably like 2012 when I moved back to. I think when I was gone, like the handful of years I was gone in Maryland and Pennsylvania, I was renting constantly.
Yeah. So it turns out I gave it a 2.5, which is still middle of the road at the time. Jared gave it a 2. You gave it a 4.
Damn, that was generous. I probably, in hindsight, would re-rank it to probably like a 3.5.
Yeah.
Because I think that was like probably a little bit.
But the lowest review I'm seeing from any of my friends is Dan with the solid 1 star.
Dan doesn't really like a lot unless it's a Criterion Collection fucking thing or just something he geeks about, but I don't think he's a very big modern horror fan. Dan, if you're listening, you can let me know.
He's absolutely not listening to this.
He's not listening, no. But if anyone's looking for a good ghost story, maybe do a good double feature on a Friday or Saturday night around this time, whenever this comes out in October.
Yeah, whenever this comes out, I don't know what day it comes out yet.
I would recommend it, especially for fans. Let's see if something I could relate it to in current times. What's something that came out that would be like a good double feature for Innkeepers, like in the past 5 years?
With Innkeepers?
I'd have to think about this.
In the last 5 years, I don't know. Like, it would be a good one. Oh, go ahead. What were you going to say?
One of your picks that you mentioned, I think Oculus and Innkeepers would pair well together.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're both, like, ghost stories, came out around the same time.
I think that would pair well together.
Because, like, I was thinking, like, films like Insidious or whatever, just anything from like that time period.
In any of the
it would be a good
Insidious would, or even The Conjuring, I think would pair well with that. You know,
yeah, it'd be a good like this could. I don't know if you would want to watch this after, because those ones are definitely more action packed and entertaining. But this one could sort of like lead you into that, like as the beginning part of the double feature. I feel like
right. You know, the first Insidious though is kind of, it's not slow, but I think like the first 30-40 minutes, it's not really really just shows.
It's got a couple jump scares and stuff, but not much is
not much.
Yeah.
Well, should we let the listeners on a little magic? I think.
So
maybe we're gonna pause and go to our second film.
So we're gonna move on to the Undead, and again to peel back the curtain a little behind the scenes. This one we are actually going to watch right now.
Right now,
and then we're gonna come back after we finish it, right after we're done, and we're gonna record. So no bullshit this time. So we're gonna be watching it right now. I guess before we watch it, because all I've seen is that trailer. Just what are some of your general memories about or thoughts about it before we watch it?
So, Undead was one of those ones that I had seen it when I was. This came out This came out in 2003, so I didn't see this when it first came out. But I remember going to the video store probably around 2005, 2006, and because I was really getting in, especially once I got my license, I was going to other stores or going to stores to buy stuff or look to buy stuff.
Right.
So I was really getting into researching horror and stuff like that because I had the accessibility to go places and just go through a store and literally look at any cover that I see that looks cool. I remember seeing Undead.
And perfect timing, so my illustrious wife is coming in just in time for us to watch this. So,
well, should I come back?
No, go ahead. Tell your story. I'll let her in, and
you
tell your story. This isn't a professional podcast.
This isn't a professional podcast?
Hello?
Hi.
What do you want?
I didn't realize I did.
You're on the podcast.
You're on the podcast right now.
Oh, shit. Hey,
So, while you're in here, real quick, because we're segueing to the next film, what did you think of the Innkeepers?
Yeah.
Just real quick.
I have too much brain damage. Remember it was good. I liked it.
Alright, that's it.
That's all I have to say.
That's it, yeah.
Sounds.
All right.
I hope everyone heard about her brain damage on the internet.
That's the truth. That's why I have nothing to say.
Disclaimer: Buddy and her have a very healthy relationship. It is not a domestic dispute or domestic violence in any way, shape, or form. To my knowledge, I'm bringing out to my knowledge. I'm just throwing it out there. Protect myself.
If this was on video, I'd say if I blink 3 times, get me help.
Yeah.
All right. Now that I've lost all train of thought, my brain damage is coming out.
So let's just pop the film in, and we'll
come back.
We'll come back
to my early memories. All right, internet. We're gonna watch this now.
So
Undead from 2003.
All right, so we're back. We literally just turned off as Miles died.
I actually got corona and an undead virus during that film.
Yeah. I know, it was a very interesting time. I know my wife was terrified, and so was Miles. He was shivering. My cats were freaking out the whole time. Scary flick.
Yeah, scary.
So literally we just turned it off. We didn't speak at all after. We were just sitting here awkwardly.
I know, I was trying to pry and be like, what'd you guys think? Save it for the podcast.
Yeah, so right when the credits started rolling, I went on Letterboxd just to see what other people have rated it that I'm friends with. No one has watched this.
I probably didn't even rate it.
Because you weren't even on there. No one was.
I have not backlogged a ton of stuff because I honestly can't remember everything I've watched. I feel like that's a normal thing.
Yeah.
Unless you spend all day on Letterboxd, I watched this. Maybe I watched this. I could have watched this. So I will rate it on Letterboxd after this.
Yeah, we're gonna have to. One thing I will mention right off the bat, looking at the cover there, I don't want to say gives away the ending because there's no context to it, but you literally don't see that until the last 45 seconds of the movie.
There's only 3 on this, see, instead of being 4.
There's only 3 on the cover, so and there's 4.
It's just misleading in general.
Yeah, it's a very misleading cover, I must say, because you're expecting some gas mask action throughout the whole thing, and it's just at the end. But yeah, I mean, you gave the synopsis of the Innkeepers. Did you want to sort of just run through the plot a little bit here? Because
Yeah,
I know, because as soon as we stopped recording the Innkeepers, when you're like, oh, we probably should have talked about the plot more.
Also, we were kind of in the middle of, you asked me how I got this, or
oh yeah, tell us about how you.
It's gonna be the oddest pause because Emily was walking in, and you're like, give me some important thoughts on this, and I was just like, brain damage, right? There we go. I found this strictly on one of those ones. Like I said, I was going through stores, looking at covers, and then I don't think I bought it initially. And then I told Spaz about this, Ryan Spazito, but I call him Spaz because I just can't ever not call him that. And he had started to get into a lot of horror right at the beginning of college, and I would just like feed him information like, this sounds cool. Pretty sure he just spent his student loan money buying films. So I was like, oh, cool. I don't have to like buy these. And I can just, when we meet up, we can just on like once a month, we would just binge a bunch of shit.
Right.
Like at his parents. So they would hear us at 3 a.m. screaming and crying, laughing. And I'm pretty sure the first time I saw this, he's like, I finally bought that Undead film. I was like, oh, let's watch it. And it ended up with me and him screaming and crying, laughing at every single kill, because that's just, when Spaz screams and cries and laughs at something, you would do too, because he's so extreme himself about it.
Right.
That it's equally as entertaining as the film. So I think that was the first time I saw it, and then I think I rented it from Blockbuster like once or twice when I lived in Maryland, because I just like needed a good pick-me-up.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've probably seen this in maybe since 2009 or 2010. Probably 2009.
Yeah, so about around the same time you first saw Innkeepers or whatever. So yeah, pretty substantial gap.
Yeah. Pretty like these between the both films, like a 9 and an 11-year gap roughly. So I'm between the two. So yeah, it's been quite a long time. But I had really good memories, clearly, because I had the Spaz memory with that. Synopsis is pretty much spoilers, I guess, if we're going to talk about, but pretty standard, I guess, in a sense, except for, it starts off like meteorites are just falling from the sky, basically infecting people in a sense, and it just kind of follows a cast of survivors through this infection. And a lot of wonky shit happens along the way. They realize the whole town is being basically enclosed by a giant black wall. Yeah. That has spikes coming out of it. There's some other creatures in hoods and robes running around. I won't spoil too much. Yeah.
Basically, we're dealing with not only zombies, but also aliens.
Yeah, basically. I wasn't going to say they were aliens, but... they're aliens, yes. They're aliens.
Well, I mean, I feel like if you watch this film for, like, the first 5 or 10 minutes, like, as you said, like, the meteorites are coming down. I mean, you kind of get... Yeah. And you see the people getting abducted or whatever into the thing.
That's true. They do the abductions really early. There's zombie fish in it, too.
There's zombie fish. So you were hyping up this zombie fish scene.
I remember it being longer in my head.
So quick sidetrack. So Miles and I have actually been trying to watch this film for the past...
month, maybe?
Like every weekend, and just something happens. So the entire time he's been hyping up their zombie fish scene, and then... so it's just been building in my mind for weeks and weeks.
You know what? I already know why I probably was also building this, because when me and Spaz would watch something that we thought was funny... we would rewind it 6 times and watch it again. So the zombie fish scene probably seemed a lot longer in my head because we watched it for at least 10 minutes at 2 a.m. Yeah. So that's probably just why rewatching it. Yeah, that's what we used to do. It'd be like, hey, rewind that. But we laughing. It wouldn't even be, we'd look over at each other. There'd be no words. It would just be in the middle of laughter, rewind, and then continue doing this, looping this shit until eventually we started to slow down our laughter, and then we would continue on in the film. Yeah. So, I mean, spoiler again, but when you see a man punch a zombie fish once, especially when I was younger, I mean, fuck, I thought that was the best thing in the world.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't know. So, I guess I got Buddy too worked up. He was, dreaming about zombie fish in his sleep, and Emily's probably talking about it over breakfast, over their singular cup of coffee they drink. They share.
Yeah, we share a cup of coffee, man.
I don't know. That would last me about a whole 15 seconds because I would just be like, and then be gone. But I'm sorry I overhyped the zombie fish scene.
No, I don't want to say you overhyped it. I'm just saying that like we've been talking about watching this for several weeks and it hasn't gone through. And so we finally watched it. We're doing the show.
You give your I can feel it rolling off the tip of your tongue. You give your reactions to it first.
So because of the hype, I would say I was a little underwhelmed throughout.
Okay.
But that's mainly like if I had just gone in blind, like I wouldn't have known what to think about it. But yeah, I mean overall I thought it was a good time. I mean like this is definitely one of those films that if you get like the right group of people together to watch it, you could have a really good time. Like if it was just me sitting here like by myself watching it, like I'd rather die. But like if you like get the right group of people around you and you're like laughing, having a good time with it, I think it'd be a good one. Definitely a good film. Like if you, because a lot of people like when they get together like for zombie films or whatever, like you're gonna put in Shaun of the Dead, you're gonna put in Dead Alive, like you're gonna put in these ones that are ridiculous and they're funny and like there's like some crazy shit going on in that. So this would be like a good one just to like change it up if you've seen Shaun of the Dead like a million times or whatever. Also, I guess to give it a few critiques, I think they got in a little too over their head.
Because this was their first film too.
Yeah, it was their first film, and this was the early 2000s, and CG was really popular at the time, and I feel like they sort of overdid it. Like, if you're doing like a low budget film, you kind of need to like know your limits. I mean, like a lot of the CG was like really bad, but again, that sort of like adds to like the charm of everything.
You have to.
It's a nice little time capsule of a film. You know?
On the budget, so if you watch another 2000s film, like even like early 2000s. The CG was bad on the big budget.
Oh yeah, I mean, you've seen the Scorpion King.
Yeah, which means like honestly, for the year, I give this a lot of slack because the year it came out and the budget this was on, coming from a small area in Australia, the CG for the year I don't think is that bad.
Right.
But that's because I used to watch so much shit, and you have to remember all the CG looked like weird video game graphics for the first 10 years, unless you're like Jurassic Park or something that.
Yeah.
Like that was like, I don't know. That's my take on it. It was I have a soft spot though for bad CG because I like how hard they were trying.
Yeah, like I said, like it adds to the charm, and like as I said, like you can tell that like they were trying to like do their best, and I mean like given the budget and the time period, I mean that's really all you could do.
They probably didn't have that much access to like anything. Like I would love to see what this was actually shot for.
Oh yeah. Some other like just like little critiques I'll say about it, just get it out of the way, and then I won't be negative anymore. I don't know. Just like for me, like I don't know. This is just like a stylistic thing because I do direct film when I can and stuff. I wasn't a fan of like the color palettes and stuff. Like everything was very like the muted colors, like almost like sepia tone.
Yeah.
During the day scenes, and then the night scenes, it was just like they had like a blue Instagram filter basically on it the whole time. But everything was like very muted.
That might have been for blending the CG.
Yeah.
That's what I was wondering when we were like watching it, like because the way some of the CG stuff they used a lot of blues and whites in it.
Right.
I thought maybe that was like something to mask like the limitations in a sense.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm asking. I'm asking you. Like, I think that could.
Well, no, I just think it was sort of like a trend at the time. Like, not because like films when like they want to be dark, it's not necessarily dark in like a subject matter way, but they just kind of take away all the colors.
Well, there were a lot of films at the time playing with a lot of like filters and stuff. I mean, look at like The Ring.
Right.
The Ring. Yeah. Well, the American Ring. You know, like that was in that kind of like
the bluish,
like, almost like a light blue-green, but there were a lot of blacks. Like, everything was like blue-green-black in that film.
Yeah.
In a sense, you know?
Yeah, so I don't know. It's just a very dated thing to me. So, again, it's nothing, like, really against the film. It's just, like, that's a trend at the time that, like, with modern sensibilities, it, like, makes it a little more dated, I guess, in my opinion.
Definitely a time capsule. I mean, it is 18 years old when they probably shot this, which is crazy to really
that's crazy
think about.
to think about. Some of the things I did like about it, I feel like this film was an inspiration for This Is the End. Like, I feel like maybe like Seth Rogen and the gang had seen this, because there's literally a shot in this that's in this and This in the End when like the people are ascending, and in the film it's like those with like the righteous hearts or whatever, like they're going like it's like the end of the apocalypse, and like Seth Rogen is hanging on to the guy who's like not in the stream, and so like they're going up together. That's literally a shot in this film. They do the same thing. So I thought that was interesting. I don't know if it's just a coincidence or if they happened to see this.
Well, this was like I remember this being like in like, because Lionsgate had picked it up. Like, this was in a shit ton of video stores, and like I've seen it in stores like back in the day. Like, so it's like not. It probably wasn't so obscure to find a lot of places 10 years ago.
Oh yeah.
Now, yeah. I mean, I haven't seen this. Not that I've really looked, but I mean. As you know, this is a video store copy.
Yeah.
So, you know, I haven't really seen it anywhere, but they could have seen it and been, you know.
They could have, yeah.
Seth Rogen, all those guys are pretty big, like, film buffs and, like, weird film stuff. So, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they just...
Yeah, and I'm sure if they're, like, doing research for, like, oh, we're going to make a film about the apocalypse, like, I'm sure they, like, went and, like, watched some, like, other stuff to see what was going on. I like that it was self-aware that it was goofy.
Right.
It wasn't something that took itself too seriously. Like, even in, like, the musical cues, it's like, okay, like, they know what they're doing here. Like, it's not, like... And it's not too over the top. Like, you get, like, some films around this time. Like, I don't know if you've seen, like, Dead and Breakfast and stuff like that.
I saw Dead and Breakfast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it a couple of times.
Yeah, so I like that it wasn't that over the top, but they were still, like, self-aware, like, okay, this is kind of kooky, you know?
Well, I think, like... on the cover, it says most inventive zombie film since Peter Jackson's Brain Dead. Well, you got to think, Brain Dead came out like 91, 92, and this was like 10 years later. Mm-hmm. Wasn't a whole lot of zombie stuff coming out really until 2002 was like that big resurgence with Shaun of the Dead, Resident Evil, 28 Days Later. Mm-hmm. Like all those came out around the same time, and then... years down the road, obviously, The Walking Dead, things like that. So this was kind of ahead of the zombie trend that actually kind of took over this decade a little bit, and farms like popularity.
Right, yeah, that's when the zombie boom started in the 2000s. Yeah, 90s weren't really big for zombies. I mean, like, you had the early 90s, like, with the Night of the Living Dead remake.
And Brain Dead. And Brain Dead, Dead Alive, whichever title you want to call it. But yeah, there was kind of, when you really think about it, there was like a 10-year gap where really wasn't a lot of zombie films coming out.
The 90s were very much into the vampires, because that's when we were getting Blade and Underworld and
Interview
all
with the Vampire.
Yeah,
I mean, on a major scale. I mean, Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt, you know.
Yeah, so.
But any more pluses? I mean, the makeup effects for what they were, I actually liked the zombie prosthetics in this, and they used a lot of different prosthetics. Did. Like, they probably had, not close-ups, but, like, there was probably at least, I'd say, 20 different zombie, like, face prosthetics in this that I could count. Yeah. I mean, they really went to town on, like, that's a lot of time and a lot of money to do. It's like, my special effects background, like, they really spent the time to do that. And I thought they all looked pretty fucking good, in my opinion. Yeah. Like, the zombies looked great.
Yeah, I mean, overall, like, and then I'll hand it to you to say some more of your thoughts. But overall, I thought it was fun. It was a little long, I thought. Like, I thought maybe it could have been, like, 10 minutes shorter or so. Just trimmed it a little bit here and there. But overall, I thought it was good. And the theme song in that, it sounds just like a theme song in, like, some other thing, but I can't place what it is at all. The music was very memorable in the film. Like, I remember the score well.
They use the one scene where she is hacking up a bunch of bodies in the store. Isn't that song like a famous song, like a famous like instrumental song?
I can't remember what it was at the time.
I can't
remember what was playing, but yeah.
Any other thoughts before I've not?
No, you're
getting the podcast is getting completely sober miles, so I haven't like actually interjected or just been on it.
You're fine. The floor is yours, man. You can go ahead and.
I still loved it all these years later. I mean, it's one of those things where when you don't watch something like probably the last time I watched this, I was probably 19 or 20, and I'll be 32 in a couple of months. So it's been a hot minute. So you don't remember everything. I remember it being wild, and it didn't disappoint in being wild. I mean, let's talk about it. Body parts ripping off.
Yeah.
Torsos being ripped in half.
Yeah, fist through
guts
through the head.
Fist through the head. I mean, gallons and gallons and buckets of blood in the store scene. Zombie fish.
Yeah.
Aliens. There's a whole ass alien at one point. I'm just trying to sell it. Maybe there'll be a resurgence of people watching this. But there's a whole ass nude alien at one point.
And it's comfortable taking its clothes off.
Yeah, that was very self-aware. Very good little... Neither of you guys laughed. I almost laughed. I was like, oh, I'm the only one that thinks this... excuse me, this shitty joke is funny. But I thought it was great. Naked ass alien, It's just fun. It's just a fun film. I feel like... Dead and Breakfast, as you brought up, a bunch of stuff around that time when the zombie stuff started coming back. I feel like a bunch of people had seen Dead Alive and they're like, we're going to make an ode to this because everything was super gory, buckets of gore, buckets of blood. And I kind of missed that about this decade. I haven't seen a lot of stuff that was just balls to the walls over the top. I haven't in a while where it was like,
yeah, you don't see it too much in modern cinema. No.
They just threw 5 people's heads against a wall, or literally blood shooting everywhere. Blood spray. A few films a year maybe, but not a lot of stuff I've watched the past few years. I kind of missed that. Yeah. Kind of hope that comes back where people are just let's just make the nastiest, dirtiest fucking film. Blood, guts, shit. I don't care. Everything all over the place. I miss that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably
in a fun way.
Yeah, in a fun way.
Yeah. No, I understand. Because, you get stuff I don't know, House of 1,000 Corpses and, stuff like that. But it's just, dark and gritty. You're not going to see, Dead Alive. It's the goriest film ever, but it's also,
one
really
of the most
fun.
Yeah. I could watch... That's one of those ones I could watch endlessly. Just because it's just so... visually entertaining and just so over the top. It's the definition of over the top. I mean, the lawnmower scene.
Oh yeah.
You're getting off topic, but it's a good film. Obviously, this being an Australian production, they're obviously gonna take cues from Peter Jackson.
Yeah.
That being him shooting all his early flicks in New Zealand. I don't know if I have a lot of talking points on it besides that it's just a blast. I mean, it's obviously the people that directed are 2 brothers. Mm-hmm. I'm probably going to fuck up their last names, so I'm not even going to say it. How do you think that they say this?
You show me it. The Spierig?
That's what I always say,
brothers?
Spierig brothers. Yeah, that's what I always... I hate butchering names, so I'd rather if you do
I'll butcher it, it's fine. It's my show. It doesn't matter.
But as I talked about with you a little before, they went on to do a bunch of big shit with Lionsgate. They've worked with Lionsgate for
yeah, you said they did
15, 20, 18 years now.
Yeah, you said they did Jigsaw.
They did Jigsaw, which I thought Jigsaw was pretty good when it came out. I mean, for what it was, you gotta look for what it was. It was good. It's not
right.
They did actually. Did you ever see Daybreakers with Ethan Hawke?
I didn't see it, but I know what it is.
I love that film, and they did that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they did that. William Dafoe's in it.
Yeah, my guy.
It's a really good film. I think they did the Winchester House film for Lionsgate a couple years ago. That ghost.
Oh, it's just called Winchester.
Winchester. Yeah, I knew it was just Winchester, but I wasn't. I was like, I think
I haven't seen it.
I saw that in theaters. I thought it was pretty good. It wasn't phenomenal, but it was they have a good style. They make things when they do something. Mm-hmm. It doesn't feel like they half-ass it. It always looks visually really good. Right. Especially once they got into more professional filmmaking, big budgets, big sets, whole crew.
Yeah.
I think Helen Mirren's in that one, isn't she? The Winchester
I don't know. I haven't seen it. I don't know.
But it was pretty good. I don't know. Side note on that, but basically I've liked everything that they've done, and it's just crazy to see them just obviously Peter Jackson's go on to do more acclaimed things, but it's funny that people can come from like a splatter background and go on to have like successful Hollywood careers, you know?
Yeah.
Off of throwing fucking blood and guts all over walls and punching fish or
all over the windshield and
yeah,
stuff, yeah, I don't really know what else to say without going through it like scene by scene, and I'm sure we'd rather just people watch the film and then
I'm hoping it if you need something, if you're having a really shitty day, go buy some Tall Boys. As I'm watching this, I advocated for drinking during this film.
Yeah.
And I decided not to. I probably would have been much more entertaining. And this podcast probably would have been way more entertaining as well. But it's definitely... It's hard to watch this film sober, I would say. If you can do like a couple bong rips... If you can fucking, just drink some beers, I don't care, do some shots before you watch this. Get all your friends together, you're going to have a great time. If you've never seen Dead Alive, perfect double feature.
Oh, yeah.
Start with this to ease yourself in.
And then Dead Alive once you're like really drunk.
By the time you're ripped out of your mind and it gets to Dead Alive in like the final 30 minutes, you're going to have the best time of your life.
Yeah.
You're going to fall in love. I'm going to say it right there.
Yeah.
But still great. I mean, tons of crazy effects all over the place. An ode to all kinds of genre cinema. Obviously, they love sci-fi and shit too. Throwing the aliens and the abductions. And all the music was also very like... kind of like, I feel like some of it was like odes to like 50s, like paranoia, sci-fi, and aliens and everything.
Well,
like
as soon
that.
as the film started, when I like saw like the sepia tone and I was listening to music, I was like, am I watching the Andy Griffith Show right now?
Yeah, I know, you did say that. You said that out loud. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, the music was very reminiscent of a bygone era.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, should we talk about what you're going to show? I don't know if I did a good job putting over the films. I don't know if I got the films over this week. You know what I mean? If we sold them well enough. But let's talk about what you're going to pick.
So for the next episode, we revealed this at the end of last one, but we're going to be talking about Oculus from, I believe it was 2013, Mike Flanagan. Big fan of his. I've liked every movie of his that I've seen.
He's great.
The only film of his that I haven't watched yet is Ouija Origin of Evil. That's the only one I haven't.
You saw Absentia?
No, I haven't seen that one either.
Oh, that one's really good.
Is that one of his early ones?
That was the film before Oculus.
Oh, okay.
That was on Netflix for a while.
Was it? No. Okay, yeah, then I haven't seen that one.
You should watch that. That one's good.
Yeah. But I've seen most of his work. I'm sorry, I missed a couple.
No, I just wasn't sure you saw because I really liked that one. That's why I was like excited to see Oculus actually when it came out. Because I was like, oh, that dude's... I actually watched that with Jared. That was back when Jared watched some new shit.
Yeah.
We saw Absentia, and I think he liked it. He was probably passive aggressive because it's Jared, but I think he said there was some cool shit in it. You probably really like it. It's especially if you like. It kind of fits well with Oculus.
Yeah.
Like if you would have seen that and then went and then saw Oculus, like, oh yeah, I kind of see like. What he's doing and stuff, but I love Oculus.
Yeah, so that's gonna be one of the films we're talking about next week. It's been a few years since I've seen it, but I remember I liked it a lot. I think I've seen it like 2 or 3 times. Because I saw it first when it came out and then a couple times after that. But yeah, excited to rewatch it because I actually put it on a list last year of my top 10 modern horror classics. I think I put it at like my number 3 or number 4. It's definitely up there.
It's a great, I mean, it's a really good film.
And then the other film we're going to be talking about is Popcorn, which is from the early 90s. I wanted to throw at least one of my VHS films on there because I like watching stuff on VHS. So I just went upstairs, randomly picked that one, and I was like, all right, this is a good one. That one I watched with Jared. It was one that I had seen the box art for years and years and years.
Right.
And then we finally watched it one day, and we were like, okay, a lot of these films, like, it has good box art, and then you watch it, and it's, like, total crap. But this one, we were, like, blown away by, like, how good it actually was, given the budget and the style that it's in. Again, it's not, like, a monumental film or anything, but it's definitely underrated and fun, so.
The whole point of this is none of these are probably going to be... Oculus has a bunch of regard for it, and it did okay at the box office, but a lot of these are going to be, like...
Yeah.
they're not going to be life-changing films, but you're probably going to have a good time.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited to rewatch both. Popcorn especially, because that's the one I'm not as familiar with. Like, I remember, like, the general plot and everything, but as far as, like, basic things that happen, I don't remember.
I've seen Popcorn once, and I think I fell asleep.
Good sign.
Part of it. No, I liked it. I think I put it as, like, a double or triple feature. I think this was, like, because I used to get Netflix discs all the time.
Yeah.
So, like, this is definitely dated for me, too. Like, this was probably 2010 to 2012, maybe?
Yeah.
So, because I'm pretty sure it had a DVD release. I'm like...
It was a very limited release.
Netflix discs would have the rarest shit for some reason. Yeah, I miss Netflix getting discs. They still do them, by the way.
Yeah.
I had them a couple years ago, actually. I had discs for a year, and then I stopped.
That's such a Miles thing.
It's a very Miles thing. It's great to get something in the mail, and it's great to be able to browse through a giant library online. I miss video stores, so that's like the closest thing to me, like being able to get a video store in the modern era.
Yeah.
Because the whole streaming thing just doesn't tickle my fancy like going to the video store.
Yeah. We're going to have to find a video store someday. The one we were talking off the air that the video store near us just closed. I went there a few times, but yeah, certainly missed the video store. So I don't know. I have nothing else to say really.
We were I guess just I don't know if we were underprepared. I'm starting to get a little tired, man. I've been off that caffeine too. I mean, my old ass body, it's like 9:55. I'm like, fuck, man, I just want to go home and suck on a pillow until I fucking go to sleep.
Yeah. Before we sign off here, do you have anything you need to plug? You've been a regular guest on the Clumsy Walrus show.
I have been on the Clumsy Walrus. I'll probably be on a couple more times, I feel like, before this airs. I feel like he's been having trouble with his, not trouble, I'm not going to start any beef over a podcast, but his actual co-host, Chad, is like busy with his business, so Dylan's trying to throw together some random podcasts.
Yeah.
He's got a good show, so, sometimes we might get a little too weird on the show, and it might end up in some interesting conversations. If you want to hear two guys randomly probably get into Star Wars at some point of every episode I'm on.
Every episode I've listened with you guys, Star Wars has been brought up. So.
Okay, well there you go. So if you want to like random segues into Star Wars, you'll love it. If you don't like listening to people high and drunk talking about Star Wars or other things, you're not gonna love it. But Clumsy Walrus, yeah, I'll plug that. Hey Dylan, if you listen to this, he might actually. He's pretty good about the podcast thing. I'll let him know when this comes out, but it's got a good show. Clumsy Walrus is on Spotify, just like this is on Spotify. This will be on Spotify.
It will be on Spotify when it's out, yeah. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts if you have an Android like my boy over here. Basically anywhere you get your podcasts, so... I was actually looking at the analytics. I have a little following in Ukraine. Because where's Dylan's? It's in like Russia or something. He's got a couple people.
Dublin, Ireland. He has
Ireland.
He has like a random listeners in Ireland consistently.
Huh.
So.
Well, we're going international.
Hey man, 1 or 2 people are hearing my voice somewhere. Fuck. I don't know what else to say about that. It's cool, I guess. I'm getting delirious. I guess it's time to cut it, right?
Yeah, so it's time to sign off. So we'll see you guys. I don't know if it'll be next week or in a couple weeks when the episode comes out, but we'll be watching some more films and talking about them. And yeah, so that's about it.
I'll try to make it more entertaining next time. It's Midnight Miles signing off.
All right, we'll see you guys sometime. Bye. Well, that's about it for this time, guys. I hope you enjoyed another episode of the House of Horror podcast. Again, if you guys haven't already, please make sure you subscribe to the show, give it a thumbs up. If you're listening to this on a podcast site, leave me a rating and a review. And of course, I will see you guys back here tomorrow for another episode of the House of Horror. So as always, take care and stay spooky.